So we use any manner of stories and thoughts and ideas in order to stop ourselves from seeing ourselves for what we truly are. And yet there is only ever seeing, there's only ever a knowing of what we already are. And the reason behind it is obviously the mind and the ego love their stories, and in a sense, we feel we're safe with our stories. We feel that what we've got is better than what's unknown, and yet what we're doing here is actually denying that which is known, which is ourselves. Um, but what we'll do is we'll use a story. We'll use any number of excuses to obviously stop ourselves from obviously seeing ourselves clearly, because that's a place where there are no stories. That's a place where there are no excuses. There's just pure, unadulterated living, so to speak. And yet, within the story, and yet within the thoughts and within the ideas, that we're not enough is a solution that gets us home, so to speak, as well. And if we look at our stories and we look at why we do what we do and really inquire as to why we are being and doing what we're doing, we'd find that there's nothing but this radiance, this brilliance of what we actually are. Now, the reason for saying that is I had an incredible conversation with this young lady in which we were discussing stories and how stories are there to simultaneously kind of keep us held down and yet simultaneously liberate as well. And what was incredible is when, she saw that she was, in a sense, limitless, and she was able to live her life as and how she wanted without cause for regret or approval or anything like that. And how they were just, in a sense, just ideas that were holding her back. And it was beautiful to see her smile. But it was amazing how she found her salvation in her story, in her method of how she'd been running, in a sense, her life up until that point, that included recognition and yet included a binding over of herself as well, because we are consciousness. So in that sense, consciousness can play small. Consciousness can give itself a location and give itself a story and identify as a me. That's why it's freedom. Freedom is total. A lot of people are under this impression that freedom is this, and anything that looks at separation, enhances duality, or has any duality in it, isn't freedom. And yet, duality is that invitation. If we look at all of creation, it's all set up in duality. The sun rises, the sun sets. The tree that I'm looking at is the tree, and I am me. And it's an invitation. I could look at that tree and simultaneously wake up. I remember hearing this story of a teacher going down the street and hearing a car horn and waking up into life. That apparent duality was needed in order to recognize oneness. So our stories and our problems, and our dramas can sometimes be the very tool that we need to recognize what we truly are. If only we would, in a sense, sit with it and actually observe and actually think about why we, or even introspect, so to speak, um, why we do what we do. Why is it that we live our lives in this push-pull whereby we get glimpses of this reality and we have this knowing, which is why, in a sense, we sit with teachers and we go with meetings, and yet simultaneously we sort of say, well, no, there's obviously some sort of security, there's obviously some sort of emotional charge or some need or some want to actually play that limited role. When you can identify why that is, you can you can, in a sense, let go of that. You can let go of this idea that you're this limited person. So the duality and the stories and the dramas offer us hope and offer us and point us away to unity. The finger pointing is apparently separate from that which it points to, but when it's seen, it's not separate. So our story is our liberation. Our story is our freedom. And when we realize that we're free of it, and yet simultaneously we can engage in it and really live, so that every moment is really fresh and it's new, and we're living. Too many people are living on autopilot, or too many people are, in a sense, so totally identifying with one aspect of reality they're missing the rest. Reality encompasses everything, which is the good, the bad, the ugly, the messy, the dirty, the joyful, the blissful. And when we see that, we realize that we're so much more. There's an expansion then, and all bets are off, so to speak, when it comes to the whole limited living, and we can be as and how in any moment, in this moment. So observe, see what you truly are. Ask yourselves, why do I do what I do? What benefit is there in this for me? And what is that thing that's apparently separate from me trying to show me? Because you could wake up just staring at a table if you really want it. Everything is an invitation, and the invitation should be accepted.